Now at 6 and streaming on CrossroadsToday.com, reports from Bastrop County say a school bus with 40 students crashed, what we know this evening. And Pennsylvania's governor refuses to send their state's National Guard to the border, calling it a political squabble created by Governor Greg Abbott. And the government races to pass a spending bill. One representative calls for the removal of House Speaker Mike Johnson.
Well, as you can see from our live picture, we got a spectacular looking weekend in store. There is a little chance of rain next week. We'll be talking about that coming up in just a moment.
And we had some incredible athletes compete in this year's Special Olympics, and we hear from the East and West powerlifting coaches coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now at 6. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Karina Garcia. Don Brubaker has the night off. We begin right here in Victoria, where police were on the scene of a two-vehicle wreck this morning at the corner of Navarro Street and Zacklands Parkway. Two people were taken to an area hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The power lines were hit, but the power did not shut off. An electric company at the scene inspected and repaired any damages that were made. Victoria ISD presented two big plans on their agenda Thursday evening. The first involved a pay plan that aims to adjust staff salaries to better compare to market rates. This program would cost about $11 million. The second includes the 525 plan, which would allocate $25 million every 5 years for maintenance and repairs. The funding for these programs could potentially come from a voter-approved tax rate election. And developing right now across the world, Russian state media says several gunmen burst into a big concert hall on the edge of Moscow today and hit visitors with automatic gunfire, killing at least 40 people and counting, and starting a massive blaze in an apparent terror attack. It happened days after President Putin held his grip on the country in a highly orchestrated electoral landslide. There were no immediate claims of responsibility for the raid. Russia's Federal Security Service says more than 100 people were also wounded in this attack. Russian news reports say the assailants threw explosives, triggering a massive blaze. This is the worst terror attack in Russia in 2 decades. Severe weather moved through Houston this week, causing heavy hail in some areas. The hailstorm damaged cars and even some structures while producing damaging winds, heavy rain, and lots of lightning. The National Weather Service issued a severe thunderstorm watch for some areas. But more on weather, let's go over to the weather wall with Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez.
Yeah, we were looking at that last night as that activity rolled eastward into the Houston area. But you can see as of today, the storm center up here right off of Longview continues rolling into Louisiana. So we're on the back side of that. That's bringing us a dry northwest wind, and that's why we had all the sunshine. I think you're going to like this weekend forecast, so stay tuned. I'll be right back in just a few minutes.
Mac, thank you. Today, the House passed a massive $1.2 trillion package to fund the rest of the federal government, but it happened in the shadow of new drama within the Republican Party, a threat to Congressman Mike Johnson's leadership.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill spent Friday scrambling to pass a $1.2 trillion government funding package before midnight. It includes funding for a number of critical government operations, including the Departments of Defense, Homeland Security, Labor, Health and Human Services, Education, State, and the legislative branch.
There's good and there's bad. It's a bipartisan compromise.
We don't want a government shutdown. We're going to vote for this thing, even if it's not perfect.
The House did pass the package Friday just before noon with bipartisan support, fast-tracking the funding bill in hopes of avoiding a partial shutdown. Anger over the passage creating chaos within the Republican Party and leading Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene to file a surprise motion to oust GOP House Speaker Mike Johnson.
We need a new speaker. This is not personal against Mike Johnson.
Greene did not provide a timeline for next steps. On the funding package, it's still unclear if the Senate will be able to get the bill across the finish line in time. This last-minute sprint has become familiar on Capitol Hill, frustrating lawmakers on both sides of the aisle.
We're still working on last year's appropriation bills while we're trying to start on this year's appropriation bills that are supposed to be done in October. It's a terrible thing to do. There's no excuse for it.
All of this takes place in the middle of a heated election year when Congress has struggled to pass meaningful legislation. Reporting in Washington, I'm Julia Benbrook.
Here's your viewer poll. You can scan that QR code right there on your screen to vote. The question is, do you support the removal of House Speaker Mike Johnson? 17% of our viewers stand at yes, and the remaining 83% stand at no. We want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part, and we're going to have an update on 25 News Now at 10. DPS says a school bus with more than 40 pre-kindergarten students collided into a concrete truck and rolled over while returning from a field trip to the zoo, killing 2 people. The incident happened today in Bastrop County, which is a suburb right outside of Austin. DPS also reported another vehicle was involved in this crash. Right now, it's unclear which vehicles the victims were inside. Hays County ISD says the passengers on board included 44 students and 11 adults. A Texas firefighter is recovering in serious but stable condition after a shooting incident this morning. Arlington officials say the firefighter was conducting a welfare check at an apartment complex this morning. The fire department office says it is not unusual for firefighters to perform welfare checks without a police escort. No word on a potential suspect. Pennsylvania's Democratic governor defied a request from the Republican-controlled state legislature to send the state's National Guard to the southern border. So far, more than 12 states have sent National Guard members and supplies to the southern border. But on Thursday, the governor said he would not be sending Guard members. On Tuesday, the state Senate passed a resolution along party lines calling for him to deploy the National Guard. He says he agrees that something needs to be done to address the border crisis, but that does not include sending the Pennsylvania National Guard.
The last thing in the world I'm going to do is put the brave women and men of the Pennsylvania National Guard's lives at risk to be part of some political squabble at the border that Governor Abbott has created.
The Pennsylvania governor says the bipartisan immigration bill that congressional Republicans shot down just last month was the best solution to that border crisis. The bill included money to build more barriers, expanded detention facilities, and would hire more Border Patrol agents. The Texas Medical Board has proposed new guidance for abortion medical exemptions. You can read this article by the Texas Tribune on our website, crossroadstoday.com. Now remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click that notification bell. For now, stay with us. Women veterans are speaking out on unique challenges they face. That's coming up on 25 News Now at 6. Also ahead, if you're struggling with FAFSA this year, you are not alone. What the Department of Education has to say next. Here's a look at Community Crossroads this weekend. We first sit down with Victoria for a day of caring, plus the Cuero ISD Education Foundation, followed by the annual Baby Day event, and we end with John Paul Ortiz. A calculation error on the free application for federal student aid, also known as FAFSA, could further delay some students' financial aid. The Department of Education reported today the error impacts several 100,000 financial aid forms. This could delay students' ability to choose which college they can afford to attend. Typically, colleges send financial aid award letters to students in March and request a decision by May 1st on whether they plan to enroll in the fall. Many colleges have already delayed this timeline. New numbers from the Department of Veteran Affairs point to more women veterans receiving VA benefits than ever before. This as number of women in the U.S. military continues to increase. But women veterans sometimes face a number of unique mental health challenges.
For Air Force veteran Sam Hargrove, an explosion in Iraq changed everything.
I got a traumatic brain injury.
After a medical retirement in 2007, as the only female in VA peer support group she attended, she said she felt isolated and stopped going and turned to more drinking, which stoked more anger.
I literally walked out the house, stupid drunk, jumped behind the wheel of my car, and decided I was going to drive my car into a tree.
In November, the Department of Veterans Affairs released its National Veteran Suicide Prevention Annual Report. Looking at data from 2020 to 2021, the VA found the rate at which women service members took their own lives increased 4 times more than men. Dr. Sharif El-Nahal, Undersecretary for Health at the Department of Veterans Affairs, says the VA is working to expand its ranks of peer counselors who understand unique challenges women veterans face, from postpartum depression to the trauma of sexual assault.
That does increase the risk of post-traumatic stress disorder, mental health conditions across the board, and of course, veteran suicide.
Taniki Richards' son was a toddler when her team of Marines came under fire in a helicopter in Iraq in 2007. Nightmares over that incident didn't stop back at home.
As I was driving off base, I went straight into the light pole right outside of the Marine Corps Air Station in Cherry Point.
Her survival, she says, was a point of clarity. Now, both veterans find purpose in sharing their stories.
We have to let everybody know, hey, I went through this too, but if you come on, hang on to my coattail. Let me show you some resources.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
988 mental health crisis calls may soon be routed based on location rather than area code to speed up connecting callers with help. Under the current system, for example, someone located in Los Angeles who has a cell phone number with a New York area code would be routed to a crisis call center in New York. The head of the U.S. Federal Communications Commission is proposing requiring telecom companies to route calls based on physical location. She submitted the proposal to the full commission and expects the rule to pass a vote in the next several weeks. The 988 Lifeline is made up of more than 200 crisis centers across the U.S. ready to help those in need. A new report suggests that much of the plastic that Amazon uses for shipping ends up in landfills. The U.S. Public Interest Research Group that put trackers and bundles of Amazon shipping materials brought to drop-off sites. Those materials included plastic bags, bubble liners, and air pillows. Out of 93 items, the group found that only 4 made it to a recycling sorting center. 13 were transported to landfills. A quarter of the bundles ended up at a firm that uses plastic for decking. Amazon says it is consistently working to make recycling easier for customers, but that it does not have control over how packaging is handled after it gets disposed.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. You can tell it looks pretty good out there, nice and warm. I mean, the cars, inside the cars feel warmer, but it only got up to 80 degrees. We'll be talking about your weekend. Right now, we're at 78. Our high temperature, 80 degrees. The first time we've been above our seasonal average in quite some time. So, yeah, a big warming weekend, and I think you're going to like this forecast. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Well, like they say, TGIF, it's Friday, and look at this. I got some headlines for you. Sunny Saturday, we got a breezy Sunday, and then we got some possible showers around here on Monday. So where are we? Well, we're right here under the sunshine. Here's the big storm that brought us the soupy weather earlier this week. That is now moving away. This is also the one that brought the severe weather late last night. We'll be showing you that in a moment. But by and large, you can see how we're getting a northwest wind. That's a dry air mass, and things are clearing up very nicely for the next couple of days. Once the sun came out, boy, it's warmed up. Got up to 80 for us. We're looking the current temperatures, even in the 90s down there along Laredo, North Texas in the 60s, and Dallas is doing well with sunshine and pleasant weather. Now, here's obviously Victoria County, but you'll notice that up along I-10 last night was really rough. As a matter of fact, this little line right here that went this way was reported to be dropping 1-inch hail in the San Antonio area. And then, of course, it made it all the way to the DeWitt County line. So we're glad that it fell apart right about there. So it basically ran about 2 hours. And then, of course, the stuff along I-10, at least 2 inches of rain along Hallettsville and Flatonia, Welder, and then when it got into Katy, it got even heavier. The big stuff right here just to the north of Houston, you can see it right about there. They got the big heavy rain last night. But today, that storm is pulled out. Here's our storm. It is now rolling away from our area. We're putting us under high pressure, northwest wind. That's going to give us lots of sunshine for the next couple of days. And the weekend, well, this is what we call a spring break weekend, or better yet, a Chamber of Commerce weekend. It means you want to go out and take pictures. Oh, and the wildflowers are going to go crazy with the sun and all the rain we had. All right, so now that's good for about a day. Okay, Sunday's still good, but the winds will turn around, and they turn around because we have this approaching storm coming in over the weekend. By the time it gets to Monday, it'll be very close to our area, and there's a slight chance of a shower or two. Now, the computer model says it's for sure. I'm not so sure, but at least we know that that front will be passing through here, and on the back side of that, we'll be doing very well as well. Weather will be very spring-like. So here are your forecast highs for tomorrow, getting up to 77 for us, 79 down in Corpus, 77 in San Antonio, 78 up in Houston. Good weekend for traveling or visiting family. And those of you who have the time and the propensity to go fishing, well, here's your forecast. Looking at a low tide at noontime, and then we're looking at your high tide at about 8:30 p.m. Just remember that tomorrow, being Saturday, it'll be a northeast wind, and on Sunday, it'll be a pretty strong southeast wind, so it's going to be shifting around on us. But waves right now are running at 1-2 feet, and bay waters are smooth. So with all that sunshine, yeah, I figure you're going to go get your bait tonight or something like that. Anyway, partly cloudy, looking at upper 70s tomorrow. Not bad at all. Fairly low humidity. Partly cloudy in Cuero, getting sunny, and northeast winds, as you say right there. These will turn around by the time we get to Monday as that little front comes through. So that's on Monday. Otherwise, have a great weekend. After that little thing on Monday, we've got some very nice weather the early part, or most of next week as well. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that, but Crossroads today on your phone. Karina, back to you.
Thank you, Mac. And now here's sports reporter Zach Brown.
The 9th annual Special Olympics took place at Victoria West, and hear from the powerlifting coaches as they send their boys to state. I'll have that in sports. This morning at Victoria West, the 9th annual Special Olympics welcomed teams from across the region. They had about 90 athletes and a pretty good overall turnout as well. They started the morning off with the running of the torch, and they got to honor some of the Victoria West swimmers who made it all the way to state. And after those nice opening ceremonies, it was time to let the games begin. One of the first races, we had a woman named Meredith who, of course, finishes first in her race. She was a fan favorite. She got to take home some medals as well. But we got to see a lot of kids from the Calhoun and Victoria area, including Taft, who made the trip. And when they were done on the track, it was time for the field events. And whether or not the athlete finished in first place, giving them an opportunity was all that mattered.
Getting all the kids together at this time, letting them compete, seeing the faces, the smiles, the medals. That's kind of why we do this. They love it. The student staff or the student and staff from West come out and they cheer them on. So it just turns out to be a great event. This is their one outlet. This is their one athletic event that they get to compete in. And they actually get to earn Letterman jackets in the high school level when they are competing in Special Olympics.
And as I mentioned, here is the great turnout from this morning. And he says for next year's 10th annual event, he wants to make it even bigger. Now, on that same campus, we had Victoria West boys powerlifters head off to Abilene for state. They were Brody Flores, and we had Liao and Jason, who may be the front runner to finish first in state. They also have Noah and Jaden coach Zach Mueller. Excited to see what those guys can do this weekend.
We got 5 guys going. We look pretty solid placing as a team. Probably our first year to be able to do that. Our boy team, they're pretty good, and we're still missing a few guys due to injury. So, you know, the year after this is going to be phenomenal too. So.
Their powerlifting program continues to grow, and Victoria East has already arrived. The girls fresh off of back-to-back titles. The Titans also sending boys off to Abilene this weekend.
I'm excited to see the boys. You know, we fell a little short at regionals. We hit some pretty big PRs. A couple of us set some regional records. We've got our eyes set to some state records coming up. I think if our boys kind of take care of business and stick to the plan that we have a great shot at finishing at least top 3 in the state, with the possibility of for sure 1, maybe 2 state champions coming back home.
All right, well, good luck to all of our area powerlifters. And tonight, UHV baseball in action. Those guys welcoming the number 3 ranked Louisiana Shreveport to Riverside. The Jags looking to make a statement after being overlooked.
Kind of been overlooked from time to time, and with Shreveport coming in number 3 in the nation, sitting atop our conference right now, should be a lot of fun to prove to the nation and some of those naysayers that, you know, we're here and kind of prove to them what we are a little bit and take that. And, you know, inside the clubhouse we know what we are, but I don't think everybody understands how good we are outside and what we're capable of.
That game is in about 5 minutes. Get out to Riverside. It is free ticket weekend. Also, if you don't want to go see the baseball boys, well, the softball girls are pretty good as well. They're in action as well at the Youth Sports Complex. Karina, back to you.
Thank you, Zach. We're going to be back in a moment where we get ready for Saturday because it's National Tamale Day. Come Saturday, it's time to celebrate a popular Mexican street food staple. It's National Tamal Day. Traditional tamales date back to 5000 BC with origins in Mesoamerica. They're made with dough called masa that is wrapped in corn husk or banana leaves, steamed, and then eaten directly from the package. Tamales can be sweet or savory, and no matter how you choose to celebrate, be sure to share on social media using the hashtag National Tamal Day. Well, Mac, me and you have tried them for sure.
Yeah, and that lady was fast.
What you trying to say?
Have you?
I'm more of a Meclube type of guy.
I have to say something. I have to say something
please,
in respect for Miss Holland, my Spanish teacher. One is a tamal, singular. Two is tamales, which is plural. So there's no such thing as a tamale. There's only a tamal or tamales. You got it?
Yeah, shout out to Spanish
Otherwise,
teachers.
you're not going to get through Spanish 1. So, but they're good. Anyway, to me, I just relate them for the holidays. So.
Oh, yeah. Make them with grandma?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
in the middle of the year. It's kind of strange. Anyway, folks, you've got a great looking weekend for whatever you need to do. Lots of sunshine for tomorrow, high of 77, and good looking weather all the way through Sunday. Think about the weekend's going to be good. Then on Monday, a little front comes through with a slight possibility of a shower or two Monday. But that's it. After that, we've got a good streak of 4 or 5 days of very spring-like weather.
Alrighty, thank you, Mac. And thank you for joining us. We hope to see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 10.